of the most talented pro gamers that I think exist within our scene. He was a Dawn of War champion. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'm quite certain that's correct.
Dawn of War champion.
Also played Warcraft 3 at an exceptionally high level, and has played StarCraft 2 at the highest of levels. And yet here we see him once again talking about moving on to the next step in his career, which will be Dota 2, and I'm sure that he'll be incredibly competitive at that as well. I know for a fact that he'll be playing Dota 2 during WCG.
Yeah, and Dota 2 is like one of those games where actually high APM still helps you a lot. Like we watch some of the guys in MrBitter's Razor House. You know, sometimes when they're taking breaks between StarCraft 2 games, they fit in a game of Dota 2, and they still play at like 200 APM basically, like looking all over the map, make sure to drop items, trying to like micro their courier while being able to do everything. It's actually quite cool, because one thing that people used to point out about Select is that he had some of the fastest hands of a foreigner, and he was able to play at incredible speed. We'll see if that even comes into play, because last time we saw Select even play in NASL, he was going for some kind of 2 racks play. Looks like he's opening up pretty standard now here, though.
Yeah, standard opening on Metropolis. Still eager to see what exactly Select's going to bust out of his can of tricks here for us. Now, this is a huge game, a game of just incredible significance. A Select win basically qualifies them for our playoffs, and that'll be absolutely awesome. And as we've already pointed out, this division is so tight, it's so close that a Select loss would just make it impossible to predict who's going to finish where.
One thing that's interesting, though, is Select is +5, Zenio's only +1. I'm talking about map score. So even if Select loses to Zenio, just by map score alone, they have the same record. Select's still ahead, so Zenio's still behind him in the queue. It's just that Zenio's case for at least having a good seed for the wildcards is much higher. But at the same time, you're absolutely right, Ben. I think it's going to be so interesting to see how this division plays out, especially since there's so many makeups. Puma and Naniwal still have 3 games to play.
Yep.
And they're all going to be played within the next couple days. That's
exactly right. Gasless opening out of Zenio. He's going to go 15 hatch, 15 pool into a 17 gas geyser. And you can do some stuff with this. Most often these days we see players just mining 100 gas getting Zergling speed, but these exact timings also make for some really cool roach builds. So we'll see if Zenio tries something like that as well. Select's going 1 racks fast expand, so nothing crazy out of Select. There was some speculation that he might go for some wonky cheeses, given that he's going to be moving on from StarCraft 2 after this season, but it looks like he is going to be bringing out that old school Select macro that we know him for.
The map is Abyssal City, by the way, Ben, because I think earlier you said Metropolis.
Oh.
It's Abyssal City.
Well, I am a liar.
You can always tell by the giant crane or the crashed battleship cruiser. Why does it feel like so many maps on StarCraft 2 is because there's a crashed ship somewhere? Well, they need to hire Denzel Washington to pilot all those ships, man. That way they won't crash.
I don't know. I don't know about that, Dan. Denzel is.
He landed the plane, Ben. That's undisputed. It's all about whether or not he was okay.
I haven't actually seen that movie, so I can't comment too much. But Denzel, my favorite Denzel movie is Man on Fire.
One of my favorites from Denzel is Remember the Titans.
This map's underwater.
Is it underwater?
Yeah.
Oh. I don't know. Come on, man. So our producer says it's because that's why the sharks float.
No,
but it's a space shark.
Look at the crane, man. There's fish swimming around the crane.
Really? Wow. It's actually really cool. I mean, it makes sense since it's so blue, but at the same time, there's like domes with water inside of it. So it's an underwater map with water inside of different containers. Some people are just so materialistic, man.
This kind of reminds me of playing Minecraft.
Yeah, we actually saw
the
like
underwater
a
city
dome
that I want to build.
We should build Abyssal City in Minecraft.
That's a good idea.
Let's do that.
Let's do it.
Zenio, of course, he's on his way to build a 3rd hatchery. This is actually much quicker. This is a more standard time, though, because we saw in the previous series, fires are going 9-10 minutes, and then maybe the 3rd would start up. This is the conventional time we're used to. But, of course, Zenio doesn't have nearly as many queens either.
That's right. He's cut the early queen production in favor of that faster 3rd base. He's cranking out as many drones as he can. He's already on 36 workers. He's going to make a small swell of Zerglings here as he prepares for the, I guess, kind of standard Hellion Harass that we're gonna be seeing here in just a couple of minutes. Select's already getting his initial. Oh no, that's not for Medivacs. He's gonna make a couple Banshees. That's really cool. And he's got enough gas to get Cloak as well. So some Banshee play going to follow this up for Select.
Yep, Mech. Some Terran players have been experimenting with Mech. We've seen it in NASL. Remember, Muslim versus Stefano on Abyssal City was Mech. Still kind of mixed on it because Abyssal City feels a little bit like a mixture between Daybreak and Antigua Shipyards in terms of your movement of army, because there are the high ground ledges in the middle of the map with the watchtowers to kind of give you that extra sight, but there are a lot of counterattack spots, and it's very big. So people are kind of mixed on it. I'm not sure how it's going to perform, but with no add-on to the barracks and the continual Hellion production, looks like Select actually is going to gear up towards Mech.
I like this billboard outside of Select's natural, the eye pistol with advanced targeting.
Where? I'm looking for it. All I see is a sign for Ricksville.
Oh man, it's by the bunker. See?
Oh. Oh, it says real men drill. Oh. Eye pistol.
Yeah, the eye pistol.
Advanced targeting, get into the groove.
That's right, man. Select is poking out on the map with his initial Hellions. He's got 6 of them. Zenio does have Ling speed. He's got a lot of Zerglings. He's also making some Banelings. So Select's got to be very careful with this initial harass. It's going to be kind of hard to make it work.
Well, he's getting into third base pretty uncontested.
How do Hellions work underwater? This is blowing my mind.
You mean the Flames are able to still jet out despite them being underwater? Well, the Baneling's trying to chase afterwards. Select controlling this very well. And just like that, very nice amount of harass, only losing 1 Hellion, able to kill 2 workers. So a Hellion for 2 workers, not bad.
2 workers and a lot of Zerglings. So excellent early harass there from Select. Banshee's out as well. There was no Cloak's done. Man, wow, Select is so far ahead of the game right now. He's already got Cloak in play. There are a couple of Spore Crawlers around on the map, but these Cloak Banshees are going to be very annoying against the Queens, against the Banelings, as they do connect with a couple of Hellions, but trading two Hellions for 2 Banelings isn't even that bad.
Yep, it's not the worst trade in the world. Select also finding a nice sweet spot. Select still playing this very nicely, and he's keeping his macro in check, considering he's already getting a couple more factories, the double armory that we've been seeing quite often in the mech form of TVZ. Meanwhile, he also has a 3rd command center too, Ben. He's got everything really going for him, and Select's playing off this early build very nicely.
Yeah, he's doing this exceptionally well. 2 Banshees out to deal with these Queens. There's no detection. Queens are going to have to drop a lot of transfuse, but not going to matter. 1 Queen falls. 2nd Queen being targeted. She's going to go down too. Great play, Select, as he is getting all sorts of mileage out of these Banshees. Lair is still not ready. Hellion's going to come harass over here at this 3rd expansion, and more drones should fall. Wow, great. Excellent Hellion play. Excellent harass all around. Beautiful, beautiful early aggression here from Select.
16 workers killed and counting as a Select working on more Queens. That's going to be very annoying. Zenio's production has been completely halted for a long time. Queens haven't been able to inject. Larva counts have been keeping low the entire time. Select also getting everything he wants in terms of his upgrades and his map control. He's even gotten good scouts, so he knows opponent is not going to be able to squeeze in any kind of muta play to counteract this mech composition. So Select, he's in a very nice spot. Everything's going for him, and he's in a nice lead.
Everything, his macro is just exceptional behind this too, Dan. He's going to go right up into a mech play. Picks off another Queen in the main base, and more workers also doomed to fall. So Select just relentless with his aggression, relentless with his harass, and relentless with his expansion too, as that 3rd base does go ahead and land. 97 supply to 95, 61 SCVs to 62 drones. Select's in great shape, getting Blue Flame, getting Siege Mode, producing some Thors. We're going to see a big mech army out of Select, and Zenio's got to figure out some way to deal with it.
The one thing that is going in Zenio's favor is that Select did not see the Spires, so if Zenio still chooses to go for Mutas, he still might be able to make something happen, because Select already thinking about transitioning directly back into the Sage Tank. Normally you go maybe 3-5 Thors, but he's already trying to think ahead of the plan, because Select feels way ahead. He knows his opponent is still on 3 base, maybe trying to establish his 4th base. Zenio expanding towards the top center, but Select feels like he's in a nice comfort zone. All he has to do is make sure that there's no possibilities for counterattack, shut off the paths, and then when he goes for the giant 2-2 brief high timing push, he's just going to be able to roll Zerg.
That's right. 9 mutas are being produced right now, and Select's going to have to be very careful about how he positions these Thors, but so long as they're in the right spots, so long as they're not too exposed, I think he does have adequate anti-air at his disposal right now. More command centers going down for Select. No turrets anywhere yet. He is still blind to this muta play.
Yeah, he really doesn't know. In fact, oh my goodness, his engineering bay is so late, 14 minutes, because he really wasn't expecting it. Now he knows, though. He has to kind of spread out his stores. He has 2 at the natural. He's also making a couple, so actually he should be safe, assuming he gets the repair in time. Zenio now starting to transition to Hive, but that's also good for Select, because now he sees the Hive timing, and he can forge a push or orientate around it then.
Yep, more queens are going to fall. Muta's out in the middle of the map. Haven't done a whole heck of a lot. They're actually going to come back to deal with these Banshees, and Select just doing everything right here, buying himself time, doing more damage to the production of Zenio. Select's ahead in supply right now. Income tab shows us that these guys have about the same number of workers, both around 75. Select, honestly, could afford to sack a couple of workers at this point. He does not need 80 SCVs.
No, he really doesn't. He's doing the right thing, though, getting more command centers, just trying to cover every area that's of weakness. You can make one into a planetary, make a couple of orbital. That's something that we've been seeing even out of players like MVP. Nice use of these Banshees. The utility of them have been very extended throughout the entire duration of this game. And Hive is about to wrap up. Select has an awesome timing if he wants to move out within the next minute or so.
He is at about 160 supply. We might see him roll at about 170, 180. Has not produced any siege tanks yet, though. And I'm thinking that he's probably going to want at least 4 or 5 tanks before he does ultimately push out.
But he hasn't seen any roaches. His movement with Banshee has only seen Zergling, Baneling, and Mutalisk. So he's just going Hellion Thor for now. That's interesting. I always see Terran switch back into siege tanks.
Oh, big shot on some Mutas there. As Select is going to come on out. First Hellions getting some nice shots off on the Zerglings as well. 190 supply for Select. Zenio only at 150, trying to buy time for his Ultralisk Cavern. We'll continue to run around the map, see if he can pull Select back with some counterattacking, but I don't think Select's too worried. He does have a planetary at his third base. He is able to rally units over to it. This is still a lot of Lings and Banelings, though.
Yeah, I mean, the Zerglings actually turn around because they're trying to get into a good position. Select spreading all of his Thors out. Does not want to clump it. It's 55 seconds before an Ultras will be able to come out. Will Zenio be able to get even the right engagements? Sure, he might have Ultras, but the Thors might be such a good spot that they'll be able to fight almost anything.
And while all of this is happening, Hellions running amok through the mineral lines of Zenio. In spite of the fact that Zenio's lost 45 workers, he still has 70 drones in play. Select still pushing forward.
Oh, Ben, the Ultras might pop out right in front of the Thors, and that's going to give the Ultras a terrible spot to engage. But at the same time, Select's also walking by the eggs. This is going to be very awkward.
He's going to be very clumped up, and I don't know what's going to happen. There's no Hellions here to buffer.
Surprise! Happy birthday!
No, and this might be terrible for Select. The Ultras are going to kill everything. These Thors are too clumped. Or will they? It's hard to say, but it looks like with the Zerglings, with the Banelings, and with what Mutas that are left over, Select is going to end up losing this entire attacking force. What an awful turn of events for Select, and Zenio breathes a sigh of relief as he does buy himself some time. Still, though, Select is ahead in supply, 160 to 130.
But that was like one of the most fortunate things that could have happened for Zenio. He did commit almost all of his resources to his Ultras, but he didn't lose that many drones. He didn't even lose a hatchery. He just lost some of his queens and his units, and that's something that he can afford. He didn't even lose any tech structures. Select didn't even get into the heart of the Zerg base, so I think Zenio still can do this. He's getting infestors as well, and that's going to be a great addition just to lock down those Hellions and Thors.
180 supply here for Select as Zenio's having a hard time deciding how and when and where he wants to engage this army. He's going to have to do something pretty soon, though, as he's going to be losing expansions. Thors are actually going to work on the hatchery while the Hellions all get cleaned up, and Select is once again going to lose a big chunk of his army. Still, though, I don't know that Zenio can really replace these expensive units while Select is continuing to expand everywhere. This is really impressive macro out of Select, who's become a bit of a North American hope here. He's kind of been adopted as a great North American Terran.
Select. He does need a siege tanks though eventually. Like, he can't just keep fighting this, because one of the reasons why he's been able to get away with some of his unit composition and poking is because Infestor has been delayed for so long. Now that Fungals are out, Select actually has to be very cautious with how he does this. And now he's starting to get tanks, 3 tanks at a time. +3/+3 is also started. But Select is still in a very nice position, just like you said, Ben. He's on 4 bases. Potential 5 is any second he wants to really lift one of those extra command centers. And I feel like Zenio still is searching for answers because he hasn't been able to establish a good hive-tech army.
Yep, throwing down another hatch, trying to once more establish his income. The one thing Zenio does have is lots of drones, still working on 70 harvesters. Select also with about 80 workers. I would love to see him pull 15 or 20 SCVs just to be with this army as we see a Thor getting caught out in the middle of nowhere. What were you doing, Thor?
I don't know.
Was he holding the Xel'Naga tower?
He probably thought he was a Hellion. Probably driving a Hellion, but I don't even know what was going on.
Man, you know that you're in trouble when the boss is like, okay, Thor, go hold the Xel'Naga tower. You really...
It's like, I got a special mission just for you, Thor.
You made somebody really mad. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Zenio now has a huge army. He's actually pretty much... He should be able to crush his army, hypothetically, if he's able to get a good engagement, if Select clumps up all his units. No Wandering Thors this time. They all run together.
And we have siege tanks in the mix as well. This is going to add so much damage output to Select's army, and Zenio does not want to fight, just kill some Hellions and then disengaging. Select continuing to reinforce aggressively. It's getting closer, 180 supply to about 170 supply. Select's army is massive. His upgrades are excellent, but so too are Zenio's, as he's got 3-3 finishing up. He's got a ton of queens, infestors, and ultras all kind of working in conjunction.
Yeah, but an upgrades in this case is very nice for Select if he can get a good position, although all of his Thors and tanks are in the front. The ultras can work on them. This is an awesome engagement for Zenio, but I don't think he has enough units to crush it directly. The confrontation power of Thors and tanks is going to be massive. Zenio trying to dig as deep as he can. Ultras, he's actually microing them very nicely, and Select does manage to trade out a lot of the units. Zenio committed almost all of his supply or his resources to that army, and it was very costly, not just because of the ultras, but the infestors. There were lots of infestors dropping Neural Parasite, and Select was able to kill all of them. Yeah,
amazingly, Zenio kind of wins that fight, and is so close still, 147 to 146 supply. Zenio has established new bases. He has continued expanding across the top of the map, as has Select on the bottom half of the map. These guys with a very pronounced divide, just fighting for map control. I'm really liking Abyssal City and how it plays out.
Yeah, it's forcing such a big risk as you expand clockwise towards your opponent. Look at how close Zenio's 5th base is from the main of Select.
Oh, more drones being roasted. Brutal, brutal economic damage being incurred there by Zenio.
But Zenio can't keep up the production compared to Select, because Select's been able to get more bases while protecting his own. Zenio can't really keep up injects. He can't even protect his base for that long unless he commits a lot of his units towards it. Select is still in a very dominating position. 190
supply to 150. A couple more misrallied Thors. What are you doing, guys? They're ironically going to still kill 2 Ultras, so it ends up being about an even trade. But Zenio, man, he's just, like you said, Dan, he's having a hard time replenishing his army.
Yeah, drones also caught in transfers. This is the stage where Zenio can't really afford to lose too many drones because he can't use any larva to replace them.
Understand what he's doing. He's not building anything.
He's not transitioning to Broodlords. He has so much gas. Ben, if he invested that directly into Broodlords or something. But I think he's convinced he doesn't have time because Select is also pushing and he's pinching in. And wow, Neural Parasites on the Thors to make them turn against their opponents. Select spreading his units maybe out a little bit too much.
Yep, Zenio's going to try to go ahead and just go for it here. Ultra is getting up on top of the siege tank, but Hellions and Thors doing a good job of keeping their allies alive. Lings will sweep in and clean up the last of this. But Select, I feel, is just too far ahead now, Dan. 190 supply against 110, and Zenio is going to tap out. GG, what a great game that was. Select showing some real fire. It makes me so happy to see that. He could have very easily just kind of been like, I'm about to retire. I'm just going to throw a couple all-ins at my opponent. But he's bringing it.
Yeah, he killed 85 workers that game, Ben.
And Zenio still had like 80 when it was all over. Also want to give a shout-out to some friends of mine over in Austin, Texas. I just got word that the Lone Star Clash crew is just kind of hanging out, players and staff sitting down watching the NASL. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Cannot wait for your event this weekend. Lone Star Clash, if I'm not mistaken, will be taking place Saturday and Sunday, or maybe Friday and Saturday. I'm going to double-check on that during our break, and I'll give you guys a proper plug.
No, that's really cool because it's always hard to kind of remember because you see all the great production, you see like just the photos coming out of players, and it just seems like wow, you're doing everything right, and then you remember it's just a group of college kids that are putting on everything, but they're not just college kids.
No,
these guys, they're established professionals already.
These guys are the future of esports. Last game brought to you by LABite.com. If you live in Orange County, if you live in Los Angeles, and you do not want to go out to eat, but you still want that going out dining experience, head over to LABite.com where you can order from more than 1,000 restaurants serving the Los Angeles and Orange County areas. Use the promotional code NASL for a special discount. LABite.com. Now we're going to have a commercial.